You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from Cboe. The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again. It is Thursday. Time to roll out the old OB. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you folks are binging. We were obviously off for some unfortunate events on Monday, but now we are back and rearing to go here on Thursday. Of course, make sure wherever you're listening to this, you are listening to the full Options Insider Radio Network. That is the official name of the feed. So if you want to go find that on your Spotify's or your Apples or wherever you get Audible, wherever you get your favorite podcast, it's there. And that's getting you over a dozen other shows coming at you. So strap in. There's a lot of good stuff coming at you. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want to join us for the Pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Spoiler alert, you folks in the Pro are going to be able to choose what products we cover coming up a little bit after the show on TWIFO. You want to join all that fun, get Pro Q&As, options, oddities, live streams, giveaways, exclusives. You folks already have Brian's latest actionable trade idea for OPR, which is, of course, a VIX fly this time. He's jumping from GLD to VIX, all that good stuff and a whole bunch more. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go as we go around the horn, see who's joining us on the old OB Thursday episode. This is usually where I welcome in the Flowmaster, but he is fashionably late as always. He'll be joining us a little bit later in the trading block, but never fear, listeners. It's Thursday. You know we are joined by the St. Charles North coach extraordinaire. He built that line with his own two hands, listeners. None other than Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, a.k.a. the mastermind, the architect of many great come-from-behind victories. Mr. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show, sir.
Always excited to be here. We take it was a very exciting win last Friday night for the North Stars, taking on Batavia, one of the best programs in the state. 2:41 left in the game. We're down 42-28. We come back, score 2 touchdowns, and go for 2 and win it 43-42. Very exciting, and we take on the school from the other side of the river tomorrow night.
All right, good stuff. And I hear the line play was essential to the victory, sir. So well done. Well done.
Thank you. Very little bias, but yeah, we got some good offensive linemen.
All right, with the gang assembled, let's dive right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we surprise, break down what the heck is trading, what is lighting up our tapes out there today. And if you said a green to mix day now for day 2 of government shutdown week, who knows how long this is going to stretch on for, then you would be correct. Yesterday, of course, on the heels of the first day of the shutdown, the market, again, we've joked for a long time that this market is kind of whistling past the graveyard, really looking past a variety of things that would probably derail a lot of other markets out there. Now we can add government shutdowns to the list. Now, in the past, we have seen these once or twice in the past, including under Trump last time. So it's not exactly shocking and surprising what is going on out there. But still, if you just took a glance outside of any other context at these markets the last few sessions, you would really have no inkling that the government is officially shut down, let alone other things going on. Maybe with the exception of gold and metals hitting new all-time highs, which I think we'll come back to that a little bit later in the show. But right now, as we're kicking off the show, the markets were kind of struggling. They were mixed earlier, and they're still kind of mixed. They were flirting with green right as we kicked off the show. Now they're back to red mostly, but only modestly. S&P off 0.05%, Dow off 0.06%. NASDAQ continuing to rally, up about 0.25%. If you had said to yourself, listeners, that all these major indices would be at or threatening new all-time highs, and VIX cash hanging out, it's selling off again. It was at 1680 right as we kicked off the show, which puts it up about 1/3 of a point from last Thursday's show. Remember, no show on Monday. It is now trending back towards 16.5 again, which puts it pretty much unched. So we've seen vol mostly get crushed and markets mostly rally a couple of days into this sell-off, which is certainly interesting activity, to put it mildly out there. So let's start with that, Uncle Mike. You are our resident permabull. I will say, your nemesis in life, Mr. Passarelli, he joined me on Options Bootcamp yesterday, and he was so amazed by the market activity, stunned, flabbergasted, if you will. He came out and said, if you are opening new, long S&P 500 positions right now, it is so ridiculous that you deserve to lose money. Those were his exact words, sir. So, A, what do you have to say to that as your nemesis in life dares to mock buying your beloved S&P 500? And then B, what are your thoughts on this, shall we say, somewhat improbable rally and bit of a vol crush into day 2 of our sell-off, sir? And then what else is catching your eye out there as we await the triumphant arrival of the Flowmaster?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that as of today, never before in the history of the entire stock market has there ever been a better time to sell than today.
All right, just think about that for a second. Think about how ridiculous it is that you are saying those words on day 2 of a government shutdown. Isn't that just completely insane, sir?
Well, I mean, I always go back to your market indicator from, I believe it was 2021 or whatever. You say when the National Guard is outside my door, that's my signal to sell.
Yeah, go to cash.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I would still agree with that today. But you were wrong. And it was ridiculous then. And so it's like nothing. I don't see how this market can possibly ever go down as it keeps going up. So I guess that means it's a great time to sell if I'm saying that. All of our listeners know how bullish I am all the time. And I have called 2025 the year of the collar and the year of the protective put. But Gosh, I think it's just the year of you need to just buy a bunch of out of the money calls with everything you own based on what's happened. But obviously, I don't recommend that. But I mean, it's just insanity where we're going and what we're doing. So the market can always go. The market's high, and it can always go higher. And so, why is it going higher? As the old traders like to say, as Mark likes to, as you like to quote on the show all the time. More buyers than sellers, kid. And that's why. It's very simple. What's interesting with silver as well, everyone knows I follow silver pretty closely. So we are at, we broke out of a high that we have not seen since 2011. We are at the high, another high mark. It would have been August of 2011. 42.78 for SLV was the closing high. We closed above it last night. This morning, we actually even got as high as 43.59. So we were ahead of that. Now, silver has sold off since then. But the next level, if you're looking at monthly price bars, the next level of resistance would be in May of 2011. And the high in May of 2011 was 46.23. And the high in April of 2011 was 48.35. And that's the all-time high. And so that's where this can get pretty interesting with silver. Do we play a double top based upon a 14-year increment of where silver has been? And so silver can be a very exciting thing. Now, of course, Big Brother Gold. Big Brother Gold, of course, continues to make new all-time highs. Looking at GLD, 358.67. It's at 353 today, so it's off the all-time highs today. But gold continues to make new all-time highs as well. What's also concerning, and we had talked about this, you just talked about this, is the fact that we're making new market all-time highs on day 2 of a government shutdown, where we're at all-time highs with gold, we're at 14-year highs with silver, and the market doesn't care. It's still making new all-time highs. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. And I've been wrong the last 9 months now, but I'll say it again. I really think that 2025 is the year of the protective put and or collar. On our long-term hedges, last week we did roll up our puts a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. So we have locked in gains for the year on our hedge strategic night portfolio. So we're hoping we're wrong with that, because obviously if the market goes up, we would make more money. But part of being a hedger is that you need to be prudent in what you're doing, and based upon the things with which I had mentioned, we wanted to be prudent with it, combined with the fact that we've just had such an insane run since the April lows. Also, this past month for our monthly hedges, I bought puts a little bit closer to the money. So don't get me wrong, I love talking about new all-time highs every day. There's nothing I love being wrong about more than the protective puts. It's kind of like you buy homeowners insurance and you don't need it. I'm happy about that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want a fire to come to my house. But the reality of it is that we need to be prepared, and we can't just be sitting around smoking cigars and lighting them with $100 bills. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. What's lighting up my tape, if you will. It's a couple the individual name I continue to follow, of course, is NVIDIA, as well as Palantir, because of the poll on the show. Maybe that's what's driving the market up. We had the poll on the show, and it sparked all sorts of interest in NVIDIA and Palantir of which one's going to do better. They're running neck and neck again at 189 and 186. So that's probably what's driving up the market. It's our show, Mark. So anyway, that is my take on what I am seeing today.
I'm sorry, I only put out my cigar that I just lit with my $100 bill here. And it's probably not conducive to be smoking a cigar and doing a show at the same time. Speaking of smoking cigars and doing shows, we are now joined by the flow master himself, Mr. Henry Schwartz from Cboe, fashionably late, as always. Put out that cigar, sir. It is showtime. Mr. Flowmaster, what's cooking in the realm of Cboe, and where are you beaming in from today, sir?
I am in the old post office. I'm in our Cboe global headquarters.
Oh, you're down the street.
I am right down the street. In fact, I'm here we have a risk management quant conference in the building. So it's actually been pretty awesome. I got to catch up with Blair Hull, who was my entry into the industry. Torben Anderson, who's a Kellogg professor that's published a lot of papers. There's a keynote from Jim Gatherall tomorrow, who's actually, I believe he wrote a book called The Volatility Surface. So one of the pioneering researchers. And it's been pretty great. There was an interesting hour just now that just ended, which is why I'm late, on fitting volatility curves and using kind of what used to work really doesn't work the same way anymore, right? And we all know that things have changed. So it's pretty great. I mean, this is put on by the Cboe Risk Management or the Cboe Labs team. And I got to do my spiel for about 15 minutes, just talking about kind of the size of our markets these days, what the trends have been, the things that we talk about. I believe we're running. I know that the year-to-date average daily volume is around 59 million contracts. I'm just trying to finish up my third quarter update for the state of the industry, but I believe September volume was way over 60 million contracts. So busy times, and some interesting things going on. And at the same time, though, we have the shutdown. We have the Jewish holiday today. It's kind of actually been a relatively quiet couple of days. So I think that's kind of an opportunity. I missed the beginning, but I assume Mike was talking about, like, listen, this market just keeps plowing higher, and what can we do to be cautious? And that's I'm definitely on the same page with that. But the power of this bull market is really pretty astounding.
Well, if you're going to keep going to the post office every week, I'm going to have to start renting you out some space here in our studio. You can stay here overnight right down the street, sir. You're you're down the street more often than I am these days in terms of just hanging out in the neighborhood here. You're a neighbor now, Mr. Flowmaster. Well, I was asking Uncle Mike, I will get your thoughts as well. And maybe if you had a chance to chat about this with anyone at the conference as well, illuminate us, sir. But this is, we always joke about this being a very hated rally, but yesterday and today in particular, rallying yesterday, vol coming in on the heels of day one of a government shutdown. Now we are into day two. Markets a little bit more mixed, but they were tilting with green right before we started the show, and vol was coming in yet again out there. So what are your thoughts on this persistent green on the screen and red on the vol screen for the most part, even though we are heading into day two of a government shutdown, sir?
Well, the shutdown was pretty well anticipated. You could have bet on it on one of the event betting sites for sure. I actually did make a bet that it would last for longer than 5 days, so we'll see how that goes.
Looking good right now, sir.
There you go. We've been here before, so this is not the kind of shock I think that anyone expected to create a volatility spike. And in terms of VIX at 16.5. Okay, that's higher than it was yesterday, but it's obviously still kind of at the low end of its historic range. But again, you got to kind of, VIX is a funny mix, right? It's a forward-looking measure, but it really does have a lot of it is based on what the realized volatility has been, because anybody that buys volatility, if they don't realize what they paid for, they're not going to want to buy it anymore. They're going to go away. They might even turn into be a seller. So, if you look at what the fact that realized volatility, we really are, I'm just looking right now, the 30-day vol hasn't been above 12 in weeks. So we are just realizing very low volatility. Part of that is coming from the fact that you've got, you still have some fireworks going off, in terms of Palantir, NVIDIA, whatever, but you have a lot of canceling out going on at the index level. And I've said this before. That is the whole point of an index, is to provide diversification, and diversification is a lower volatility strategy. In fact, Blair Hull, the person I mentioned who founded Hull Trading back in the 80s, he's actually said the only free lunch out there is diversification, right? You will get better returns with lower volatility purely by being more diversified. So that's what's happening. And, the truth is, until we get some sort of shock, and we probably will, we do know what this administration, they do like to shake things up every once in a while. But the way things are right now, it's been a relatively quiet trudge higher. We're basically sitting, very near all-time highs, if not at them, for most of the big leading stocks. And in fact, one thing that I mentioned, so I got to present some data this morning, and I showed volume, and I went back to 89 is when I started on the Cboe floor after college. SPX at the time was $300. Okay, so compared to 6,700 today, so 2,200% return if I had just bought as much SPY as I possibly could, although it didn't exist back then. You'd have to actually do a little bit more work. But it's just it's a strong market, and people can't afford to be uninvested. The biggest risk out there is not being in the market. As much as it's easy to get very, very concerned. I mean, I think we're up 17% year to date right now for SPX. That's pretty strong, and we're only starting the fourth quarter. But it's just not there's not a lot of fear out there right now, and the truth is we haven't seen a lot of reasons. Now, I do think that because we're going into the fourth quarter, people do and should start hedging their books, the bigger PMs, and so we might start to see a little bit more demand for puts, a little bit more action. But for now, it really is. It's been a pretty mellow trudge higher.
Well, speaking of things that may or may not be mellow, since you're on with us, and the numbers just came out from our friends over there at OCC. This is the good time to reveal them here on the show, listeners. And if you're wondering to yourself, was September of 2025 a banger out there volume-wise? The answer was most decidedly yes. I do believe, I'll have to go dig in to make sure. I have not this year seen another month close to this level. So looks like we set another new all-time high in terms of total volume. What am I talking about, listeners? Well, just a year ago, September of 2024, shy of 1 billion contracts, 967 million. September of 2025, only 45.1% higher, listeners. Yeah, September a banger. You can look at that two ways. Maybe September of last year a little bit quiet, even though nearly 1 billion contracts is not sleepy. But 1.4 billion with a B contracts in a single month. I mean, we're starting to get just absolutely, I think the technical term is redonkulous numbers out here right now. I mean, these are hard to even fathom. Index options year over year up 34.5%, listeners. ETF options up 20.4%. Equity options nearly 67% increase, 66.9%. The lone dark spot on this list, once again, VIX futures off 6.6% on the year. Again, but total volume, 1.4 billion. Mr. Flowmaster, as the man who's crunching the flow, it's in your name at the end of the day. What are your thoughts on this? Yet another new record for the world of options, sir.
I mean, I haven't gone to do my double checking of records, but I believe that this is going to be the all-time volume record. We knew April of this year was insane, but it actually died off pretty quickly. The last week or so of April was actually kind of dead, and September was much more sustained. It helps this market. The fact is, we know retail is driving about half of the option volume out there. And we know that retail becomes extra energized when markets are going up. Okay, that is, I guess it's kind of common sense. But, in 2022, the market actually declined for a change and retail volume really dropped off. And so it, works in smaller time horizons as well. So a strong bull market and retail comes out of the comes out of the woodwork to trade options. They love the fact that they can get the exposure they want. The leverage is there. To be kind of hitting all-time records. My forecast for the year is still 14.8 billion. But it would only take another month like September, we might actually get towards 15 billion. But it's just, the market is paying attention to single stocks and stories. And, we continue to have those, right? We had the Oracle news. We had the Intel investment, and that's, things have kind of gone both ways on that. We got plenty of meme stocks hitting. We got things like Wolf, I hope we can talk about later, going out of business and then rising from the ashes and shooting up to $24 as a different stock. There's just a lot happening, and retail is very engaged, and it doesn't surprise me at all that we're seeing big numbers. Now, actually, this week things really have slowed down. Today's looking like a 70 million contract day. So even on days where it's like, well, I don't know, not that much is actually, we don't see any kind of shocking moves. Single stock volume today is 13% above normal. And ETF volume is 8% above normal. So there's just there always seems to be something going on, and we continue to see new IPOs. And, even on days like today where, at least so far, market's just kind of waffling around, we might end up dead flat. It's going to be another strong one.
Yeah, speaking of strength, I pulled up the numbers for OCC while you were talking, Mr. Flowmaster. And September is the big dog, 1.4 million. Number 2 is April, 1.27 billion. I think I said million, 1.27 billion in April. August, 1.26 billion. So right behind it out there, listen, let's just do a top 5. July, 1.23 billion. And March also 1.23 billion. So that's your top 5. You only really need to look to this year, listeners, because this year, every month is a new all-time high, it seems like. So you don't even have to worry about previous years coming into that mix out there. That's how hot this year is. So absolutely wild stuff. The notion that we can even talk about 15 billion potentially, just wild stuff, listeners. Let's keep on rolling out to the land of the rest of the market today. Is it wild stuff out there? The Flowmaster kind of just alluded to it. It's respectable. Closing in on 400K in VIX today. May not sound like a lot, but for the better part of the last 2 weeks post-Fed, we haven't been able really to sniff much more than 400K in a day. So that ADV coming back to earth, 755 is where it's hanging out right now. Probably where it should be, all things considered. And again, 394,000 contracts on the tape in VIX land today. We got SPY putting up some numbers today, 6.33 million already. The ADV is about 8.33 million, so might hit that by the end of the show, the way SPY is putting up numbers. The S following suit as well, 2.6 million contracts already. The ADV 4.25, so probably going to hit that today as well. Stay tuned for the hot options report later today for the official total. IWM coming in nearly 600K right now, 589. The ADV 1.5 million, so that's one of the few ones looking a little light out there. And the Q's 2.6 million, the ADV about 4.25 million. So the Q's pretty much in line, maybe slightly heavier than what we usually see this time of the day. All right, here we go. Top 10 time, listeners. Is it a hot day in top 10 land? The answer is, it's more than respectable. Our barometer, our barrier for top 10 threshold is usually 350,000. That's you got a hot day. Baseline is 250. If we're threatening 450, then we're looking pretty good. We're not quite there, but I just reran it just in case. And yes, we did just ever so briefly and just ever so modestly surpass 400K to break into the top 10 today. That gets us to our old pal Rigetti. Things are kind of interesting when Rigetti's in the top 10. I saw a few comments about Rigetti in our chat today, so some folks are slinging a little Rigetti. Rigetti right now, listeners, 34.15, up about $4.30, or about 14.5%. So, of course, it's quantum. It can do naught but go up until it plummets back to earth. So we'll keep an eye on that one. By the way, Rigetti popping hard today. Coming in at number 10, listeners. Number 9, it's the artist formerly known as the Monster. Now it's just Strategy, which is born. MSTR 346.42, up about $8 exactly, or 2.33%. Good for number 9, about 450 on the tape for them. Pretty much neck and neck with Amazon coming in at number 8, which is at about $4.50 as well. The Amazonians, $222.60, up about $2. So a lot of green on the screen, even on, again, a interesting shutdown day. What's open up to? It's coming in at number 7 today, listeners. $5.22 on the tape. 8.14's up about 8 cents. You know, if you've been listening to the Hot Options Report, a lot of action on those 9s. So there's a lot of folks out there who need open to pop about $1 by tomorrow. Can it do it? Open can go literally anywhere by tomorrow. So we'll see. But right now, not looking great. But again, the day is young and we still got another session tomorrow. Number 6, it's the Fruit Company. $5.73 on the tape for them. Up exactly $2 as well. They're about $2.57, almost $2.57.5 out there right now. So a good little day for them. Good little post iPhone launch run, which is not usually the case for Apple. They're usually buy the rumor, sell the fact pretty hard. And folks did that. Then they decided to buy the post-fact, and it's been on the run ever since. And out to number 5, it's Rocket Companies. RKT listeners, $5.84 on the tape for them. $18.60, off exactly $1 or about 5%. So not a great day for Rocket Companies, making it into the top 10 today at number 5. Number 4, it's Intel continuing their seemingly inexhaustible climb north. $6.68 on the tape for them. $37.20, up about $1.25 or 3.5%. I do believe there was action on the 38s, I think it was yesterday on the Hot Options Report, if I'm remembering correctly. So we need to get out of bed a little bit to get to those, but interesting stuff. Maybe it was 37s as well. It was definitely near-term upside. Folks, rolling the bones on Intel for number 4. Number 3, listeners, to AMD we go. 170 3/4, up 6 3/4, or about 4.1%. So a hot day for AMD, putting up 1.03 million contracts. Number 2, yes, number 2. Uncle Mike's beloved NVIDIA, 189.10, up about $1.85 or about 1%. So once again, actually did hit a new all-time high today, 191.05. So wild stuff out there. Uncle Mike's beloved Palantir, not in the top 10 today. Kicked out by Rocket and Rigetti and all these other wild names. Number 1, listeners, it's Tesla. Interesting. Rallying off some good numbers earlier this week. Rallying pretty hard, now selling off pretty hard. 445.90, off about $13.50 or about 3%. Putting up over 2.25 million contracts. You know, they've been rallying off news for a while, anything other than cars, and they deliver some good car news, and it's not great for the stock. But then again, I think everyone realizes this is just people getting ahead of the subsidy going away, so they're kind of just moving all their purchases into this quarter. Be interesting to see what the future holds, and it looks like the stock not looking that optimistic right now. Still north of that 440 handle, which we were joking about on the Hot Options Report last week. Seemed like maybe a bit of a bridge too far when we were hanging out 420 or so, but we blew through it. And now going back through it the other way. Earnings season kind of trailing off. We're waiting for the new season to kick off, listeners. And I know you're waiting for the Flow Master, so let's get to it.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for The Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get down to business. I see you got some fun names. So Mr. Flowmaster managing to do some scanning. But before we get there really quickly, we got to talk about your beloved, my beloved Wolf. Just the last time we gathered here together on this show, Mr. Flowmaster, it seemed like the fix was into the downside. People were buying, shall we say, some very pessimistic puts in very large quantities. Fast forward a week, listeners, and the Wolf is back to life. The pack is nipping at your heels. $26, up $1.20, another 5% today. This name is up an astounding 1,600% just in the past week. It was about $1.50. I'll have to go pull up the paper we talked about last week, but it was not looking good, listeners. And lo and behold, the Wolf rising from the ashes. My goodness. They reincorporated. Is that enough, Mr. Flowmaster? Or are we just shuffling the deck on the Wolf Titanic, sir?
You know, I think I had a dream that I forgot about some position I had on in Wolf. And and then, like, I woke up and I was like, is it real or not? Now I got to log in and dig around.
You were short all the 10s you could sell, sir.
I just was kind of like, did I have like 6 slot in there that I forgot about? This is kind of a bizarro one. And I believe, although I have not taken the info memo and triple checked everything, there was a corporate action that there was a rebrand, and they changed they basically went bankrupt and then surprised people by saying there'd be some residual equity left over. However, I believe the existing shareholders, which would mean an option contract as well, were diluted like 138 to 1, I think. Although I have to look at the info memo because, if anybody's ever tried to trade options into some sort of a weird tender or bankruptcy or anything, you got to be really, really careful because, since options contracts have a multiplier of 100, sometimes they do cash in lieu and it gets weird. Regardless, I'm not sure if the stock was even after the bankruptcy, I believe, the stock was like under $5. And now we're at $28 ish. And the option volume has been insane. I mean, traded 600,000 contracts on Friday. Things have kind of, I think the dust is settling a little bit. Today it's only going to trade 200,000 contracts. But it's one to kind of be really, really wary of. You got a lot of non-standards, right? Because the old wolves turned into wolf ones, but there already were wolf ones. So it's one wolf one. That's what I'm saying. People need to, I don't know. The truth is most people probably stay many miles away from this symbol, but it is a wild story. I mean, Open, I think, is a little bit, Open's a little bit simpler. Open's just a stock that, caught meme fire and went from 50 cents to $10 and then, has stayed really, really volatile. But the wolf is a wild one. But I mean, the fact that, we've talked about it in the past and been like, wow, there've been some pretty big trades in there. I believe you kind of had the ability to buy puts, ride it to zero. And if you didn't get the wrong position on, make some money on this rise from the asses, as you called it.
Yeah, well, I found what we were talking about. It was actually 2 weeks ago on the show, September 15th show. The stock was 265, and we saw just a ton of the 2.5 puts going up through the offer for $1.65 and more. And we were just joking about how people were literally paying $1.65 for puts that were going out on the 24th of October. So just about a little over a month. They got 5 weeks on a put, and they were paying over 2/3 of the value of the stock for the privilege of that. It just seemed like the end was nigh for that. Now you're right. If it sold off more, maybe if they got quick, they were able to turn those around. But that looks like a bunch of premium getting thrown into the fire out there. Absolutely wild stuff. As we keep on rolling, Mr. Flowmaster, out to the land of a name we've talked about before, maybe not in such hushed tones as the wolf, but what can rival the wolf, listeners? It's our old pal Aries Capital Corp, ticker symbol ARCC, ARCC, trading about 20 1/4 today, up about 16 cents or about 0.75%. On the year, it's been a tumultuous year. It rallied all the way to about 23.84 in February. It sold off on April 8th to 18 1/4, rallied again in July to about $23, and now is selling off again back to about 20 1/4 again. So if you've had this all year, you've had some highs and lows, but right now you're hanging out slightly off on the year. That said, Mr. Flowmaster, what did you spot in good old ARCC, sir?
Sure. So yeah, I did have a little bit of time to keep an eye on things downstairs. There's one presentation on asymptotic estimation of volatility curves, and I got lost on that one. But this one, so Aries showed up on my list. Specifically, there were a couple big trades in the November 21 calls. One actually looked like a sale, but luckily the open close data confirmed that it was a buyer. So what you have is right around 1:06 New York time, so pretty recently. There were 4,000 the Nov 21 calls bought for 31 cents. Looked like a seller. The market was 30.35, but as I said, I can see that it was a buyer in Trade Alert. You can see that under account type detail, and I can see it clearly because this trade happened to print on our BZX exchange. That one is actually with customer to customer, but I see it as the initial part was customer to market maker, and then another 4,000 of them 10 minutes later, 35 cents. So on the day, 8,000. Volatility's higher. Calls lead puts 15 to 1. I'm not sure, with the stock at 2030, it is an upside, November trade, a little bit long. I don't know if I wouldn't, the more I stare at it, the more I'm like, it almost looks like somebody made a mistake. They're not necessarily buy to buy. So I'm gonna change this one as more of an odd block that looks like maybe an odd loss of a nickel. We'll have to see what the open interest does tomorrow to be sure. But it is a name that people do punt plenty. It's a pretty active name. It's beaten up, man. It's been as low as 1890, but today it's in it's in its third percentile. So I guess an interesting kind of couple of blocks that.
You think their finger was hovering over the mouse button and they hit click before they meant to, sir?
I don't know. It's interesting. It does. The closer I look, it looks almost like somebody said, "Oh shoot, I didn't mean to sell those," and had to cover them for 35 cents, and then tell their boss that they lost 4 cents 4,000 times. It's only $16,000. You won't get fired for that.
I'm sure they said, "Oh shoot," as well. We are a family-friendly program out here, listeners. They do have earnings on the 29th, so if they are rolling the bones, then these would cover earnings at least. So maybe there's something there. But you're right. It is oddly similar paper. Let's just put it that way. As we keep on rolling out to the land of, I do believe this is a newcomer here on the network. This is USA Rare Earth Inc. I wonder what they do. Ticker symbol USAR, trading $22.45, up 412 or 22.33%. My goodness, US Rare Earth popping hard. And I see a headline here from 4 hours ago. Hits all-time high at $20.02. So yeah, we are well past that now, 22.5. So a good day for U.S. Rare Earth. I'm going to guess it's probably been a decent year as well, and that is the case. It was $10.77 a year ago. Looks like it was pretty much locked at that level for quite some time. Is this this looks like it has the hints of maybe this was one of these SPACs that was launched back in, this looks like this came around back in 2023, and it hung out at $10 seemingly forever. And then it started rocking this year. Pretty much this year, it's gone up to $18.55 on March. Then it sold off to $5.50 in late March. Rallied again $15.66 in April. So all these tariffs on these rare earth madness has been kind of driving this name up and down, back to $8, up to $14. Done this dance a bunch of times. Was at $13.75 just a few weeks ago, September 15th, and since then has shot up. It was $17.19 just earlier this week, and now up to 22.5 this week. So a good week for them, up again 25%, 22% just today. Mr. Flowmaster, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess somebody's buying calls. Is that correct?
Well, I wonder, is this one that the U.S. has taken some sort of 10% stake?
Who knows what we own at this point? We own 10% of everything, sir.
So, well, yeah. And then also, is it based in Canada or something? Because that's what some of these, American this or that, it's like, oh, shoot, it's in Canada. So this is an interesting one. And actually, looking at what yesterday's flow as well shows something. But so today, the trade that stands out to me was, where did I just put it? Was a buyer of just over 1,000 Halloween 30 calls. They paid $1.10. Just lost it on my screen. Stock was $21.64 at the time. It was part of a sweep. There were some other things, kind of, other basically generally kind of call buying happening at the same time, or a little bit after. So it's basically kind of, well, right now you have 101,000 calls on the tape at almost 1:45 New York time. That's 7 times normal, and only 16,000 puts. And it's kind of got all the hallmarks of with the kind of move that we're seeing today. I mean, volatility is up 30 points in the near term. Skews flattened. It's basically saying everything, which is like upside is the focus, and there's a scramble for some positioning there. I have no idea if there's anything kind of behind the move, but that's a lot of activity. Kind of seems like we might get something out of it. It might be a little late to jump into it now, but up 22%, and it is obviously it's a name that is in an industry that is in the headlines plenty. So the looking at yesterday's flow, it did open up some calls. The November 22 calls, 2,700 of those were net opened, and when I look at the activity, it was let's just see. Basically looks like a seller for $1.65 yesterday when that stock was $17.75. Those net opened, so that guy got kind of hurt. I think last week weren't we talking about somebody getting really pelted by a sale that they just said yikes and closed. This actually, I hope it's not the same person. He'd be having a really, really rough fall. That one looks like they had it on wrong. Or maybe they were overwriting a position and they just saw all of their windfall gains evaporate. But this is a bullish one. It's volatility higher, skewness flatter, meaning the calls are the upside is the focus. And this one I might lean into. Maybe if it's just a teeny tiny stock position to keep an eye on.
Taking a nibble of USAR. You are a daring man, Mr. Flowmaster. I know you got to head back to your conference soon, so we'll dive right on into Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of this week, into the weekend, of course, until the Monday show with Uncle Mike, until next Thursday when the Flowmaster joins us. Really quickly, I want to check in on our poll, which I know our buddy, you're at one conference for Vol. Our buddy Dr. Vix was at another conference for Vol in New York this week, and he was saying the hot topic is very much in line with what our question of the week is right now, which is quite simply VIX still hanging out in the mid-teens, listeners. Gold setting new all-time highs seemingly every day. I think we have 40-odd new all-time highs this year, which raises the question, what is the better gauge of market sentiment right now? Which one is picking up what you're putting down better, listeners? Uncle Mike, we'll start with you, sir, as a precious metals fan. Maybe I know which way you're going, but which way are you going? Is it gold or is it VIX that is more accurately capturing market sentiment right now? And then B, what do you think our audience is going for?
I mean, I think it's the VIX because of the fact that there's still some caution out there. So this isn't like the first Trump administration to where we had the single-digit VIX that absolutely no human on earth predicted besides the people who actually traded it most likely. And we're a little bit cautious right now, but we're not a lot cautious. If we were a lot cautious, we'd be in the 20s. So I think the VIX is more than the metals are, actually.
You think our audience agrees with you?
Well, of course. Why wouldn't they?
Indeed. And Mr. Flowmaster, you're on the other side. I think you might go VIX, but you never know. Which way are you going? Which way do you think our audience is going?
I think I have to say VIX.
I think you're legally obligated to say VIX, yes.
Dr. VIX is here. I was talking to Russell downstairs.
Oh, he flew in from New York already. There we go. Everyone's down the street.
He's zipping around.
All I got to say is one of you better bring me some spicy pickles. That's all I'm going to say.
Let me see. I'll try to snag you a T-shirt that one of the sponsors is giving away. It's kind of cool. It's got like a volatility surface of Amazon or something on the back. So in terms of sentiment, I mean, keep in mind you have some interesting stuff right now with the shutdown. We're not going to get employment. We're not going to get any economic releases, and that's one thing. And then also, I believe they've stopped collecting the data for the next ones. So that's a little concerning, but VIX is we talk about it a lot, right? VIX is a measure of the 30-day SPX options. It's important, but it's one specific thing. You have the VIX 1-day, the VIX 9-day. There's other VIXs that I think are also worth keeping an eye on, especially the VIX 1-day, because that tells you basically what the expectations are for the next day. It is a number that takes some understanding. So if somebody wants to pay attention to it, you really need to know what you're looking at. I think it also does make sense to look at gold, to look at Bitcoin, to look at basically these risk-on, risk-off assets, because there's a lot happening right now. And VIX is going to react, but it's not necessarily the only thing to be watching. So I think VIX is a key part, but it's not the only thing to keep in your information universe.
Indeed. Right now, so we have one vote for VIX, listen, one vote for gold. Well, actually, I think we have two votes for VIX. Let's see. How are you folks shaking up on this right now? Listeners, 68.2% of you hanging out on gold, only 31.8% for VIX right now. So interesting stuff out there. A lot of you, I think there's just an empathy for gold. Gold is expressing more of what you're feeling right now, listener, which I think is what's driving that. But at the end of the day, the VIX calculation, pretty straightforward. If realized vol and the S isn't budging, VIX isn't going to budge, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Unfortunately, that music means we've come to the end. Mr. Flowmaster has to go back downstairs and enjoy some delicious spicy pickles with Dr. VIX. But before he goes, Mr. Flowmaster, sir, where should folks go if they want to check out all of your good goodies in Cboe land, sir?
Just head over to Cboe.com/RMA. That's where our data and platforms can be perused. And you can always find us at Cboe.com. Look for the market insights or market intelligence page. And my quarterly State of the Industry update should be going out within a week or two. So if you sign up, you'll get that newest version.
There we go. Check them out over there, listeners. Cboe.com is the place to go to begin your journey to the dark side. Then you got your market insights. You have the forthcoming sometime in the distant future trade of the day newsletter, all sorts of stuff, his state of the industry, a lot of things to check out. And of course, Cboe.com, I should say, /RMA if you want to go deep. All right, sir, go back and enjoy your spicy pickles. Thanks for taking some time out of your conference day for us. All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, now that guy's gone, we can get him out of here. He can go eat his pickles, which, by the way, they are pretty tasty over there in Cboe HQ. What are you keeping an eye on for the rest of this week? I mean, I think it's probably the elephant in the room, which is the shutdown, but perhaps there's more, sir. And then where should folks go if they want more Uncle Mike goodness in their lives?
Well, ironic fact, St. Charles, Illinois is the former pickle capital of the world.
Oh, are they spicy? Can I get some spicy pickles?
I don't know. I really don't like pickles, but nonetheless, if you are, I am watching, of course, the shutdown, the news, macro news of what's happening on things, how gold, silver react. I really don't think there is much else to watch at this point in time besides just the markets and the indexes themselves. If you are looking to get more Uncle Mike in your life, if you're looking for a financial advisor who's not afraid to buy a put option, if markets are high, reach out to me. stcharleswealth.com. Would love to have a conversation with any and all of our listeners.
stcharleswealth.com, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. I can confirm if you go to his office for an in-person meeting, he will give you a delicious pickle from the St. Charles pickle fields, as well as perhaps a delicious Skippy's Gyro and perhaps a lemonade if you bring enough to the table out there. So there you go, listeners. Look forward to that. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go to get your pickle. We got to get on out of here, listeners. If you're listening on demand, just hit next for that TWIFO show. If you're hanging out in the pro, it'll be coming into your ear holes right away. No rest for the wicked here. So make sure you're hanging out in the live chat. Another great bonus of the optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get access to that. In fact, double bonus today. You folks in the pro going to get to choose where we go, which products are lighting up the tape out there on TWIFO today. Should be a fun time. I can't wait for all of you to suggest fluid milk and cash-settled butter. And, of course, feeder cattle and all that good stuff out there. So stay tuned for TWIFO in a little bit. And, of course, we're wrapping up the day with a little bit of the hot options report. So if you like that segment of the trading block, you say, I wish it was its own show. There you go. We heard you the Hot Options Report. Back again tomorrow. Dr. Vix and Hammond. Everyone's having a big vol party down the street, and I'm stuck here talking to you folks. You know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'll be back talking vol, of course, with those folks tomorrow. Should be a fun time. We'll hear about all the vol musings that have been going on at a variety of conferences. Dr. Vix pays to travel and sits in the cab for hours in New York, so you don't have to, listeners. So tune in to Vol Views tomorrow. Should be a good one. And then, of course, after that, one final time for our pro friends, the optionsinsider.com/pro to get options oddities, the official after party of Volatility Views. Then, of course, we come back one final time to wrap up the week with a little bit of the Hot Options Report. Then we're back again on Monday, trivia battles in hand, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.